to Chinwag Central with Jem Turner and Garrett Beckett and Miro Griffiths.
Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Chinwag Central. Whoop whoop. Thank you for your comments on the last episode. We have, unfortunately, received complaints.
Oh no.
Yes. So, Miro, would you like to explain why you cannot say what your favourite cheese is?
It's worrying people.
Yeah, and I thought it was quite an aggressive comment from Jason Olsen. I know who you are. And trying to call me out to name my favourite cheese. I don't think that's something I can take lightly. And I can't make that decision on a Sunday afternoon. You know, it takes time and preparation. But what I would like to say is to Jason Olsen, that if he wants to come over to the Chinwag Central and we'll have a cheese off where we try and name all the cheeses that we know, then I welcome the opportunity to take him on. So Jason, if you're listening, reach out and we'll have an episode dedicated to cheese, and I want to test your cheese knowledge. That's all I have to say on it.
Okay.
An excellent response, I think, because that would make a very interesting episode, I'm sure. Cheeses of the world, cheeses that we know.
I mean, I think you would do better than me, so.
I love all cheeses. So, Jem, what is the topic, though? Having dealt with the important issue of cheese, what is the topic today?
So, the topic is gardening, which I do have to say is probably one of my least knowledgeable topics. However, we have got an exciting episode because we're taking a tour of my garden, firstly.
Ooh. Yeah.
So you'll get to see that. And then Miro and his famous dad is going to give us a tour of his garden.
Is it an interview between Miro and Mr. Griffiths?
It is. It is an interview.
I'm really looking forward to this.
Yes, and honestly, just you wait. It's great.
Okay.
And then we're going to talk about your exciting gardening project at the end. So stick around for that.
Handicrafts. It's a bit Blue Peter what's going to happen at the end, isn't it? Just to prepare everybody.
Well, you know, maybe Blue Peter, I don't think they've got the skills that you've got.
Thanks, Jem. Thank you. I appreciate that. I'm going to do my best.
So should we start off with my tour?
I'm looking forward to this.
So, I did accidentally get my finger in this, which is quite lucky.
I didn't notice. Oh, yes, I see.
Yeah.
On the bottom left.
Yeah.
Now we want to do a little audio script. Thank you, Miro.
Thanks for that.
A little audio description. So, Jem, talk us through where we are.
Okay, so we're in the decking of our garden, and my dad built this. Actually,
Wow.
yeah, it's accessible, so I can go onto it, and we've got onions hanging on the ceiling of the decking. It's made by wood, all wood, and what kind of wood is it? I'm not a wood.
Well, it looks like oak or something like that.
Oak.
Or maybe it's pine or something. It's got knots in it, hasn't it? But it's
got knots in. Quite a dark wood. It's
wonderful, and I love the way that the what would you call it? The palisade or the kind of fence that's round it has got almost like a sunburst shape of spindles.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I'm using the right terms here, but that's very pretty.
Yeah, it's good for a photo. I do like a good Instagram in front of these, I must say. This is not about gardening, guys. This is just me saying what's good picture backgrounds.
And then there's this beautiful barrel in which is planted a tree that looks like it's either topiary or it's got a very somewhat Japanese kind of look to it, hasn't it?
Is it a bonsai? Bonsai?
Well, it looks like it could be. Is it something Mum or Dad have been looking after and making into a bonsai?
Yes, got to keep it well shaped. It does look a bit funny if it isn't chopped correctly. So we're very precious about that. And the plant on the left which is it? See, this is where I'm not very good at gardening.
I think it's a palm of some sort.
Yeah, it looks very palmy situation. This used to be in my bathroom because
oh wow,
I wanted something, you know, a little bit of greenery. All the Instagrammers were having green in the bathroom, so I was like, I want a bit of green in the bathroom.
Did it overgrow? Did it become too large for the bathroom?
Yeah, it's like double the size of me, and every time I went to my mirror, it was like poking me in the eye. So I decided to, you know, put it in the decking instead. So those are the two plants, and that's where you come out of when you come into our decking.
But can I ask 2 quick questions?
Go for it.
On this one. Firstly, is this an authorised bike area?
No, that's my brother putting his bike there, which probably isn't allowed.
And my other question was, as a wheelchair user to another wheelchair user, how smooth is it to drive on this surface?
It's quite smooth, you know. It's as somebody who breaks bones and needs a good smooth surface, it's not bumpy, which was one of my criteria. So yeah,
I think it looks beautiful, really, really lovely, and look at that gorgeous blue sky as well. Okay. Oh.
So this is the famous bridge that I was telling you about.
Yes.
There is another picture to give you another view, but so what's on the screen is our shed.
Yes.
What's that thing that's on the roof?
A weather vane.
Weather vane. There's a weather vane with a dog on top. But yeah, this is our little shed. It's got, you know, all the tools that you need for gardening. But this usually has nice roses on, like the roses to the right, and unfortunately they're not there at the moment.
No, Miro Griffiths, you have just put your cursor over a camellia.
Wait, where are the roses?
Well, I thought they were. Are they not roses?
I think you'll find that's a camellia.
I am going to razor, sorry.
See, this is why I'm not good at gardening, and I'm basically just showing you what I've got, and you can actually.
I think it could be a rose. It could be a rose if you think it's a rose. It's hard to see from here, but it looks like it might be quite early for a rose to be out that much in bloom. Perhaps it's a warm area in it, and it is.
Right. Well,
are you sure the roses aren't what's growing the shed?
Yeah, see, usually they are roses on the shed.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it not rose time yet?
Well, mine has started, but it's quite early. But tell us about this bridge, and it's obviously built to be accessible.
You say that, but I do not want to go on a bridge. It freaks me out. There is a pond underneath this bridge. So if I went on and the bridge fell, I would be stuck in a pond with frogs.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
It looks very robust and well built, because I know electric wheelchairs are quite heavy, aren't they? Because of the mechanization that's built into them. So I can understand why you might worry, but it does look like it's very well built.
I'm sure
it looks like a very gentle incline as well.
Yeah. If you go right, Miro, there's another angle, I think, of the so that's how I get to the bridge. So I go down this ramp, and
it's
then
beautiful. That's a great ramp, isn't it? Nice, gentle.
Yeah, it's a little bit steep, but you know.
And look at that wood stack. Somebody has been doing Scandinavian style wood preparation there, if ever there was. Who's done that?
That's my dad. So my dad's the carpenter of the house.
Looks lovely. Let's have a look at the next shot.
So this is the other side of the decking. I just wanted to show you the full scale. This is where we, hang out.
There are lights there, so it's a really lovely place to be as a family and with friends of an evening.
Yeah, and we've got a remote control where we can dim them, because my mum was worried that, the neighbours might be like, it's a bit bright over at the Turners.
It's very considerate of her.
Do you dine al fresco out here?
Yeah.
And there looks like there are slates out there as well for,
Yeah, I don't know why there are slates, but there are slates.
Well, to protect the wood. Coasters, maybe? Are they coasters?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the coasters. You know my house more than me. Should we go to the next one? Oh, so this is the other side of the bridge. I just wanted to give you the full photographic scale of the bridge.
Do you know, I think that bridge looks wonderful, and I think it looks pretty safe, actually.
Well, I don't know. I feel like maybe I'll get out my chair one day and someone does it, and then if it's fine, then I'll do it.
Okay, all right then. Absolutely.
I'll let you know how that goes.
Mira, would you try out the?
I would go for a gentle roll over that.
Would you? Oh.
Invite me over. Maybe that can be another. After coronavirus, we can do a video and I'll drive over.
Yeah, we could have like a barbecue and then do like instead of like the limbo, do the bridge.
But doesn't the colour scheme in the garden look really? It goes really well. The colours really complement each other. You've got nice light colours, then with the contrast with the decking. I'm very impressed with this.
Thank you.
I think it's beautiful.
Charlie Dimmick would love this, I think.
Would she?
Yeah. And that I think that what the plant on the left, which is spiky, I think it's called a cordyline. I'm not 100% sure, but I think so. And again, that picks up the colour of the pink, which may be a rose. Actually, now that I'm looking at it from that angle, it looks, we're not sure. But it's very pretty, isn't it? All very pretty.
This is the bit that I can't access. And it's like, don't really know what's going on. I can tell you a little bit.
Go on then.
So I think my mum will kill me that I've included the fence with the shrubbery because she hasn't sorted that out. So let's just not tell her that I've done that. The greenhouse is where we have tomatoes growing.
Oh, lovely.
Which apparently is a good time, I think, when it gets hotter to do tomatoes. The dogs, however, do know that food is growing in this area.
Oh dear.
So you've got to be careful when you let them out that they don't go shopping for food, which is unfortunate.
There's been something being planted that they're growing up some meshing. I wonder what they're growing there. What do you normally grow? What do they normally grow in the allotment or the vegetable patch? What kinds of vegetables?
In the past, we've done beans, like broad beans. Could that be outside?
It might be what those are for, actually. Maybe to support broad beans, possibly.
We've done cucumbers in the past, potatoes. I mean, I'm not very good at this, but let's just pretend that there's a lot of different fruit and veg.
Well, it looks to me like a very sunny vegetable plot. The whole garden looks like it gets a lot of sun, which is lovely. Yeah. What a lovely, calm space to be and relax at any time, but especially at the moment when we're in lockdown. It's wonderful to have some outdoor space, isn't it? And the weather is picking up a bit, so we can just sit outside and get some vitamin D, which is apparently helpful to us at all times, is it not? But that we should try to make a top up of our vitamin D at the moment. So
well, I'm looking forward to the invite.
Yes, you can come round for a barbecue and we'll test the bridge.
Yeah,
definitely.
So that's my garden.
Thank you so much. I feel like I've seen the sun. They're such sunny photos, aren't they? Really lovely. Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Shall we move on to Miro's video?
So Miro, I understand that we're going to be hearing now an interview that you've conducted with somebody you know very well, Mr. David Griffiths, aka your dad.
Absolutely, yeah. So this weekend I had an opportunity to go in the garden and I had a one-to-one with my father to ask him about his views on this creation that he's been designing and developing for many years. And he enlightened me and took me around on a tour of this wonderful space. Hello and welcome to Chinwag Central. This week we're talking about gardening, and I've left the studio and I've gone as far as possible with regard to quarantine, and I'm in the garden and I'm joined by Dave Griffiths. Hello Dave, can I call you Dad?
If you must.
Thank you. So Dad, you're going to take us for a tour on the garden, are you?
Yes, I wouldn't mind.
Off you go.
Okay then, well let me just say a few things about the garden. It's in terms of shape, it's really just a bog standard semi-detached garden. It's a square shape. And one of the things that I like about this garden that I sort of developed over the years is I changed the height of it. Instead of it being a box shape with a single plane, I actually lifted up and dropped the heights of the garden, and it made it much more interesting. And you'll see as we go down there, I introduced a mound, and I introduced a little dell at the bottom of the garden. So come along and I'll tell you all about it. So the first thing I did was I built up the beds, raised the beds, and I lined it with sandstone and had them undulating rather than being geometrical shapes. I just had undulating sandstone borders, and then I lifted it up and then I planted over the years. I've planted it. I quite like the garden. It's herbaceous borders, really, perennial, mostly perennial. I'm not a great lover of bedding plants, but I like the architectural aspects of the garden. And I've never quite mastered the technique of having a garden that is nice all through the seasons. It's really a spring garden. It comes into its own in spring. It looks terrific, I think, and then starts to get overcrowded by summer, and in autumn it doesn't look very good at all. And what we've got in it is if we start off in the spring, we tend to get daffodils, and then after the daffodils we get some bluebells. After the bluebells we start to get some geraniums coming through, and then rhododendrons come after that, and then we have got quite a few hydrangeas, and so by that time it's looking very, very pretty. But then it's round about, as I said, round about the middle of the summer, it's not looking so great. But anyway, let's take you through. So this area on our left is it's the shaded area. So all these plants are mostly shade tolerant. As I said, it's early days yet. It's just beginning to fill up. There's some mistakes in it. For example, this shrub here, I didn't realise it was going to grow so prolifically. So it should have been at the back, but I can't do anything about it now. And then what we have got is I've got a willow tree there, and I built a mound there and I have a table and chairs there, and it's a lovely spot to have a cup of coffee in the morning. And the willow tree makes it particularly enjoyable. It's funny, if you lift the height of the garden up by about 1 metre, and you put a table there and a chair as a vantage point, you see different things that you perhaps wouldn't see if you were 1 metre down. Let's just move back to the front of the garden again, and now this pretty much stays in the sun all the way through there, and we've got again it's mostly shrubs. There's a bit of a tip for somebody. If you have a Leylande hedge and you cut it back to the brown wood, it will never grow again, and it looks awful. So what I have to do then is every spring I've got some hops, and I plant the hops. When we get further down you'll see the hops, and there's a lovely, round about late spring, there's a lovely canopy of hops which completely envelopes the hedge, which makes it look very nice. We'll see a bit of it when we go down. But this is always in the sun. It's always in the sun. And where Miro is sitting, just behind Miro, there's a buddleia. We should all think about growing buddleias because they used to be called the butterfly plant because butterflies just love it. And it's lovely to just watch the butterflies every summer just coming around pollinating the garden. And they're so prolific. You can buy a small £1 buddleia from a supermarket, and by the end of the season it'll be 6 or 7 foot high. Now let's walk down to the dell, and this is I particularly like this area. It's semi-shade. We've got a mix of ground plants and trees and shrubs. And of course, we just missed the cherry tree, which was in full blossom until probably about 2 days ago. It's beginning to shed now. And this is a lovely place to sit down and have a cup of coffee. So I have my cup of coffee in the morning on the mound, and then in the afternoon I come and have a cup of coffee here. This is an old pub table with a whiskey barrel top, and it works out quite nice. Now my other pride and joy is my recently built shed. Now this is a shed that was built using an North American technique called cordwood structure, where we use cords of wood, and they're placed in a lime mortar surround. It's really easy to make. A child could make a shed like this. But one of the things about this shed is I tried to build a shed by just repurposing items. So every time I went past a skip, I used to rummage around, and then over the year, probably over 18 months, I'd collected enough materials to build myself this shed. It's really not a shed. It's my music practice room, and it's probably I finished it about 6 months ago. Would you like to come and have a look inside? Well, I'll just tell you about my my lovely desktop. This was a cedar tree from Cheshire that got struck down by lightning. It was 400 or 500 years old, and the farmer was going to burn it. And my friend rescued it, and said and brought a mill, a portable mill, and milled it into slabs, and luckily I managed to get one, and it's turned out to be a real beauty. And that concludes our adventure out in the garden. Now back to the studio.
So that was a lovely tour of your garden. I really enjoyed that. I have my favourite parts of both the video and the garden. But Jem, I thought I'd start by asking you, what did you think of Mr. Griffith's garden?
I thought it was so lovely, really nice. Obviously I'm not the most professional at plants, but it did look very, you know, like when you read a book when you're younger, like The Secret Garden-esque type.
Yes.
That kind of, you don't know what you're going to find. until you go right into the garden.
Yes.
I got those kind of vibes.
Slightly magical, yeah.
Yeah, and I liked how your dad, his personality shines through, both on camera and in his shed. Yeah, the whole, broken tree, and now it's, a desk to be used. I just think that's so lovely. And the stories behind everything. I just thought it was a really nice tour. And he obviously takes, pride and joy into his garden.
I totally agree. I mean, I thought it was all very pretty. I like how he's made different kinds of heights in the garden and how it dips down into a kind of dingly dell, which is so pretty. And I can imagine all the bluebells there as well. I think the shed is a piece of art, isn't it? I mean, it's so beautiful. And I know when we went inside, you could see there was some stained glass in there. And then that, as Jem said, that beautiful piece of wood that he saved and turned into something so lovely in his space. I thought that was amazing. I thought it was really wonderful. So I can imagine you all out there enjoying the beauty of that garden in all its seasons. And there were some good tips there as well about choosing your plants for shade or light, not cutting into the brown on your Lelandai hedge. I'm sure that that's happened to a few people. So yeah, really useful information there too.
No, it's a lovely garden. And although reflecting on Jem's garden, that seems much more appropriate in terms of the gentle gradient of the slopes. My garden is a little bit precarious when you're driving in it. You can tend to feel a little bit of unsafe ground and steepness. I don't think it would pass an access audit, if I'm being honest. But it is a lovely garden, and yeah, it took about 1.5 years to build the shed. He had a chemical burn injury.
Oh no!
Yeah, and there was a few other ailments that occurred during the build of it. But he had fun. That's the main thing.
Was that from the use of lime in his mortar?
It was when he was doing. It was when he was cementing the floor.
Oh
and
no!
He got some of the chemical in his boot, in his Wellington boot, and rather than stop, he just thought it's okay. I'll just pour some water in it. So he poured some water in there, try and wash out, and of course that creates a reaction, and he had to go to the burns unit at the hospital. But he's fine now. And he laughs about it. That's the main thing. But no, it's been an enjoyable project he worked on. And also, as you say, he's incrementally built up the garden space. He's a little bit upset at the moment though because he made his garden, as he refers to it, hedgehog ready, and he bought a hedgehog house, and he's developed it in such a way to allow hedgehogs to pass through. But when he went to the hedgehog adoption center, they said he wasn't a suitable parent.
No, why?
Well, apparently, according to some rules and regulations, you have to already have a hedgehog in your garden area, or history of a hedgehog in your garden area that you can prove in order to have access to.
Sorry, is this actually true?
Yeah.
There is a hedgehog adoption center.
Yeah, he was going to adopt a hedgehog with a visual impairment. It was called. He found one called Dave. So it was going to be Dave and Dave living in the garden together. But
so he has to wait until a hedgehog naturally comes and says this is a good habitat for hedgehogs, and then we'll allow him to have another hedgehog companion.
Yeah, but so he hasn't got any hedgehogs, but he has got a frequent rat that comes to the compost for a little bit of a nosy round. So every cloud has a silver lining, I suppose.
It's just not the
really,
same, is it?
It's not quite the same, is it? Really, not so keen on the idea of. It's not really a domesticated rat, is it? That so, well, anyway.
But it's a nice garden, though.
It is beautiful. It is really lovely. It's a great space to be, and again, a lovely environment to relaxing at this time as well. And I could see that you actually had a bit of a snooze while your dad was doing the journey. And
well, he has got a very dulcet, quite nice dulcet tones, hasn't he? I think, Jem, did you say he's the David Attenborough of the garden world?
Yeah, I can imagine him, soothing the nation with his voice.
It was very relaxing and beautiful, and I loved all the shots of the tree, the canopy of the trees, and the light coming through. Very pretty, really great.
And now I believe we can hand over to your creations, and you can talk us through what you tantalized us with at the beginning of the show.
Okay, so we'll end then with a little bit of DIY for all those budding gardeners who might feel inspired by the beautiful garden of the Turners and of the Griffiths families. So I thought perhaps we would find a way to make use of some of these toilet rolls that people have been stockpiling. So it felt like an appropriate thing to be doing. And we'll start with, for our handicraft, we're going to make some little plant pots. And this is the equipment that you need: a pen, a scissors, and a toilet roll.
After you've used it for Mirror Moon.
Indeed. Now, the first step is that you squash flat the toilet roll. So you need to press down the edges as well as you can, because the idea is we're trying to turn something that's circular into something that is square. So we are squashing other edge. No, it's the long edge is where you need to press. The long edge, Miro. That's it. Thank you very much.
Well, at least you clarified it.
Yes. So I'm sorry, my guidance is not very good. So let me try to improve. So you squash it down on the long edge. All right. So let's have a look at the next one. And then we fold it again lengthways. So you see what I've done? I have, and you need to press it down all along the long edge so that you're now creating a square from the circle. And here this is what we end up with. We've actually turned a circular tube into a square shape.
That baffled me, I was like, what?
And yes, indeed. Thank you, Miro. That's very helpful. So now basically I have cut it in half. So you just need to sort of poke a hole through with either a little knife, taking great care. So you need to cut the tube in half. So you just poke through with your scissors and then cut it into half, or it's much easier to do by just flattening it again and cutting it while on the flat. Now at this point you have these two little square tubes, and what you need to do is to measure about, I would say, 1.5 centimeters up each edge. Right, so I have done that on each edge. That's right there, that's it, and there, that's it, and on the other side as well. Okay, and then you cut down those lines on the edges in order to create a flap, as you can see. That's it. So you fold it inwards and you keep folding round, rather like the bottom. The fold that you want to make is like the bottom of a cardboard box. You know how they interlock the folded pieces? So you interlock them until you have this effect at the bottom, which creates a base, which you can then turn over. And let's have a look at the finished product, Miro, please. And here we are, little plant pots, which you can obviously fill up with compost and perhaps plant annual seeds, or maybe start some vegetables growing. And the great thing is that you don't need to take your plants out of these, because you can actually just, when they've got a good root on them, you can just loosen the bottom and then you can plant them as a plug straight into the garden or into your hanging basket. Or if you're growing tomatoes, you could put them into your tomato grow bag or something like that. So it's a really easy way, cheap way of using them. And of course they decompose, which is really helpful.
So do you need to leave a hole for roots to come through or to go through?
You don't. I mean, I wouldn't be too fussy. I mean, that is quite accidental. I haven't been very precise with my measurements, but I suppose it would help with drainage a little bit if you did. But the water will seep out anyway because it's cardboard, so they shouldn't get too waterlogged, I would say. And by the time you start to see any roots appearing really in that depth, you should be potting them into something where they have more of a root run, I would suggest. You could also make for if you're planting something like broad beans, you could use, rather than cutting the tube in half, you could use the full tube size, and then that would give a greater depth of soil for the plant to grow into. And then finally, I thought maybe if you were doing this either to cheer yourself up, or you were doing this with children, maybe you could also decorate your little pots in some cheerful way as well. And then you could put them on a tray, put them on your window ledge, and I think they look quite cheerful. So what do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? I have to say that I think that Gardener's World beat me to this, because we've been planning this, haven't we, since last week? But I do believe that Gardener's World actually did this on Friday night. So
you think they're listening in?
They will already have seen this, but I'm not sure that they decorated their plant pots. So that's what I'm adding to this.
Talk us through the decoration. Is this a banana?
It is meant to be a golden star and a silver moon.
Oh.
I think
And then thank you. And to the right is a sort of daisy type flower. Although I do believe, Mira, that you originally thought it was what, sorry?
Well, I thought you were going for a food kind of theme. So I thought this was a banana. This was on the left was a cookie.
Mm.
And on the right, I thought was a salt shaker. Like top down, bird's eye view, garden, link, salt shaker, bird, garden. There you go.
Very good. But it could be also that you have food on your mind. Perhaps you're getting hungry and ready for your tea. If you're seeing biscuits everywhere.
Still thinking about Jason's comment, that's what it is.
Yeah, cheese. So here we are, just to return to the full screen then, so that we can see each other properly. Here are the very pots that I've made.
Woo!
So they're small. They wouldn't be for anything more than really starting off some seedlings, I would think. But I think they're quite handy.
I think they're really cute.
And where did you come across this idea? Because clearly Gardener's World has been infiltrating our planning meetings, and we'll take that up with the BBC afterwards. But where did you come up with the original idea for this?
Google. There's quite a lot of wonderful life hacks and other things that you can look up. So when we were thinking about life hacks last week, I also came across this one, and I thought, well, it would be appropriate to talk about this under the gardening theme. So there you go.
Excellent.
There's lots of nifty ideas and things that we can be doing. And I like the idea because it's recycling, it's reusing.
And if people are using them to grow anything in the next couple of weeks or months, let us know. And
I'd love to see.
We'll have some photographs and some comments by people about their little creations.
I would absolutely love to see if people do actually take up this idea, see their decorations, see what they grow in them. That would be great. So, are we going to say goodbye for this week?
I thought it was very relaxing. This was like a very tranquil, very gentle exploration of garden and nature, wasn't it? It was very nice.
And sunshine, and yeah, I feel really relaxed at the end of it. So thank you so much, both of you, for sharing your gardens. I think they're beautiful. What are we going to be talking about in future weeks, Miro?
So, okay, next 3 weeks we have planned. Next week we'll be looking at all things to do with art and galleries. I think we've got an exploration of a virtual gallery.
Ooh.
We're also going to be talking about our favourite artworks.
Mm-hmm.
And we're also going to try and find famous paintings that may resemble us, or as near as we can to our beautiful places.
I wonder whose idea that was.
Yes. Not mine.
Not mine. But anyway, Jem and I will do our very best.
And the week after, we will be talking chemistry, everyday chemistry. We're going to have a scientist join us for a Q&A, answering some of those everyday questions that we have about things that we use, things that happen, the reactions, chemical reactions that take place, and trying to give us an accessible way of understanding why that happens.
Excellent. And there'll be a little bit of COVID material there too to keep us informed, but mostly it will be about those things that we've always wondered how they work.
And the week after, we have planned a discussion about animals. So we'll be thinking about animals that keep us company in the home, but we'll also be thinking about the importance of assistance animals, animals that support sail people to participate and go about their everyday activities.
Absolutely, and that one was a suggestion from one of our listeners, Luana, wasn't it? So thank you, Luana. That's a great idea, and we'll be doing that in a few weeks' time.
And of course, if anybody else who's listening or reading the transcript has the opportunity to give us some suggestions about future weeks, then please let us know. We'll do this as long as people find this interesting.
Yes. Okay, take care, everybody. It's been lovely to talk to you again. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Chinwag Central is created, written and produced by Angharad Beckett, Miro Griffiths and Jem Turner. The artwork is by Emma Fairweather, music by Dave Griffiths, and the subtitles transcription for YouTube is by Beth Lavery.